right. So we are going to do a review today of the Kaweco Art Sport, and this one is from the new generation of art sports, and the color is real blue. So as you can see, we have on the front of the pen Kaweco Art Sport, Germany, and this is engraved into it. And then on the top, we have the Kaweco logo, and I have this added clip. This did not come with the pen. It is an add-on. So this pen I got from Dan Smith at nibsmiths.com, and he tuned it up quite nicely. And he has an option when buying that you can upgrade to a gold nib, which I did do. So this is a 14 karat gold rhodium plated nib, and it is quite nice. So if you've never bought a pen from Nibsmith before, this is my first one, but he tunes them up quite nicely. And I have a friend who says that every pen that he's bought from him is just written amazing right when he got it. So this pen, if we unscrew here, so typically you can either use the short cartridges, international cartridges, or you can get a converter. So this is a Kaweco converter, the short international cartridge converter. And I like to do that just so I can put whatever ink that I want in there. But this is the Kaweco Art Sport, and the color is real blue. And this ink is going to be Pilot Shizuku, something like that. And then the ink is, I don't know, some gray. I need to get better about that, so I apologize for that. This is a 14 karat gold rhodium plated. So let's see if I can spell rhodium or not. Rhodium plated medium nib. And this pen, it writes beautifully. It's a little bit stiff, I would say. If you've used other gold nibs, a lot of times they have kind of this nice springiness. One thing to note about this nib, it writes beautifully. Dan Smith tuned it up quite nicely. Perfect ink flow for me. It is a little stiff if you're used to just gold nibs. It's somewhat wet. That was kind of a bad go, but it's pretty wet, but not too much. It's kind of a good balance, I think. So let's do a little math problem so you can see this pen in action. So let's take the derivative with respect to t of e to the x plus 3t times e to the tx pi. So in this equation, and by equation I mean expression, I'm considering x to be a constant. X is not dependent on t. It is not some function of t. It with all regards to t is a constant. So when I take this derivative, right, now I'm making an equation, so my previous statement will hold. Maybe. Anyways, maybe not. But this is a constant. There's no t's in this expression. So the derivative of any constant is always going to be 0. And then this is going to be, now when I get to this term, I have some function of t. multiplied by some other function of t. So when I'm taking the derivative of the product of two functions of t, I need to use the product rule. And remember, the product rule says if I'm taking the derivative of the product of these two functions, I take the derivative of the first one multiplied by leaving the second one alone. So let's do that. So the derivative of this first one is just 3, right? And then I leave the second function alone. So this is times e to the tx pi. And then plus, now I leave the first function alone. So I leave 3t alone. And it looks like I might be, okay. So 3t alone, and then I multiply by the derivative of the second function. So the derivative of e to the t by itself would just be e to the t. So I need to, in this case, use what? I need to use the chain rule. So I pretend like this is kind of just like a t. I leave it alone at first and take the derivative like I'm taking the derivative of e to the t. So that's e to the tx pi. And now by the chain rule, I need to multiply by the derivative of this inside function. So the derivative of this function, tx pi, remember, x and pi are constants in this. So I just am really taking the derivative of t, which is 1, and I have these guys along for the ride as well. So the derivative of this inside function is just going to be x pi. And then I have a bunch of parentheses to close and one bracket. So there you have it. I hope that this was somewhat useful and that you did not get too bored by all the math. If you did, then that's something that happened, I guess. So I apologize for that. Anyways, I hope you guys have a nice, although it is night right now, day tomorrow. That was kind of creepy. Goodbye.